Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are focusing all our attention on the absolute superstars of the summer garden, the Gladiolus. If you've ever grown them, you know exactly what I mean. Their tall, dramatic flower spikes provide this incredible vertical interest and just a rainbow of colors that, frankly, very few other plants can even come close to matching. But here's the tragedy. So many gardeners treat these majestic plants as simple annuals, just letting them die off when the cold weather hits. Well, today, we are going to change that. Let's look at exactly how to preserve these beauties so they can grace your garden year after year. Now check out this fascinating fact from the Old Farmer's Almanac. They are literally named after Roman swords because of their striking, blade-like leaves. Not only do they signify remembrance in the language of flowers, but they're also the official birth flower for the month of August. You know, realizing how resilient and historic these sword lilies actually are, it really poses a fun challenge for us. How do we harness nature's rhythm to save this stunning beauty for next year, rather than just starting from scratch every single spring?
So, here is the roadmap for our cycle of rebirth journey today. We'll be looking at 1. The timing of the harvest. 2. Digging up the corms. 3. The cleaning and curing process. 4. Perfecting winter storage. 5. Defeating pests and diseases. And finally, 6. Some expert tips for next year. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. The timing of the harvest.
To get the timing right, we first have to understand what we're actually harvesting. We all say Gladiolus bulbs, right? But they actually grow from what's called a corm. A corm is a swollen stem base, not a true bulb like a tulip. Because it's literally made of stem tissue, it is incredibly sensitive to the flow of nutrients coming down from the leaves. Think of the plant's leaves like a kitchen where all the food is made. If you shut down that kitchen too early, your corm is basically going to starve.
And this comparison brilliantly illustrates the most common mistake gardeners make. I know, it is so tempting to just chop everything down at the end of August to tidy up the yard. But if you cut early, you starve the corm, and that results in incredibly weak growth the following year. Instead, we have to employ the wait-and-see method. The green leaves are essentially solar panels. Even after those beautiful flowers have completely faded, those leaves are still photosynthesizing, pumping vital energy down into the corm for next year's grand display. You absolutely must wait for the foliage to turn yellow or brown. So when exactly is the perfect time? Well, in many regions, nature provides a very clear signal, the first light frost of autumn. This is your wake-up call. A light frost will safely kill off the top growth, turning those leaves brown or black, but it won't penetrate deep enough into the soil to actually damage the corms hiding below. Once that first frost hits, your solar panels are officially offline, and you've got a perfect 2-week window to act before the deep freezes arrive.
Moving on to Section 2, Digging Up the Corms.
Okay, the absolute ultimate goal here is to remove the corms without causing a single nick, cut, or scratch. Any physical damage literally becomes an open door for rot and disease during the long winter. So grab a sturdy garden fork, not a shovel, and insert it a full 6 inches away from the base of the stem. Go nice and wide, then gently rock the fork back and forth to loosen the earth. Work your way around in a circle until the soil just surrenders, and you can safely lift the entire clump out by the stem.
Which brings us to Section 3, the cleaning and curing process. All right, here are your rapid-fire rules for curing, and I cannot stress this second point enough. You want to trim the stems down to about 1 inch, but whatever you do, do not rinse them with water. I know, it is so tempting to just wash the dirt off and make them look neat, but introducing water right now is a total recipe for fungal rot. Instead, lay them out in a single layer on a drying rack or maybe a shallow tray. Let them air dry in a warm, dry spot for 2 to 3 weeks. Only after they are fully cured and bone dry should you gently brush off the remaining dirt. And be ruthless here. If you find any mushy corms, throw them away immediately to protect the healthy ones.
Next up, Section 4, Perfecting Winter Storage.
So the crucial takeaway here is this specific temperature range, 35 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the sweet spot. You want to store them in a cool, dry place. If it's too warm, they might actually sprout early or just dry out completely. If it drops below freezing, their cellular structure will be totally destroyed. Place your cured corms in breathable containers. Think mesh bags, paper bags, or wooden crates. And keep them in that perfect 35 to 45 degree zone. A cool basement or an attached but unheated garage usually works wonders for this.
Let's look at Section 5, Defeating Pests and Diseases.
Now, when it comes to troubleshooting in common FAQs, a huge question gardeners ask is, why do my plants look bleached? Or why do the flowers completely refuse to open? Well, the answer usually points to this tiny, menacing little creature, the Gladiolus thrips. These are believed to be an introduced pest from Africa, native to the same regions the Gladiolus originates from, and let me tell you, they are incredibly destructive.
Understanding their life cycle is key here. They go from opaque, kidney-shaped eggs to pale yellow larvae to dark orange pupae and finally dark brown adults that are only 1.5 millimeters long. They are tiny but mighty. And the real danger is that sluggish adults can actually overwinter right on your stored corms. However, there is a massive weakness in their armor. They cannot survive if the temperature consistently falls below 10 degrees Celsius, which is about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. This perfectly reinforces why our winter storage temperature of 35 to 45 degrees is so utterly essential. Keep it cool, and you will literally freeze the thrips right out of existence.
Finally, Section 6, Expert Tips for Next Year. To guarantee your cycle of rebirth is a complete success, definitely keep these actionable expert tips in mind. Always check that the leaves have wilted and browned to ensure maximum maturity before you even think about digging. After the curing process, you'll actually notice an old, sort of shriveled corm at the bottom of the new one. Just gently snap that old one off and discard it. And when spring finally arrives and it's time to plant again, remember that some of these grandiflora hybrids can reach 5 feet tall. Plant those taller varieties toward the back of your garden beds so you can easily stake them without hiding your shorter border plants in the front. From vivid reds to soft pastels, there are just so many stunning varieties out there. So, which spectacular color of sword lily will you choose to nurture through the winter for next season's garden? It is incredibly rewarding to watch a plant you saved with your own hands burst into life again. Now, please remember that the advice presented in this explainer is based on general horticultural research. You must always consider your own local climate, your first frost dates, and your specific storage capabilities when applying these techniques. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and happy gardening!